Welcome to Stereopedia, where music meets meaning. In this video, we'll explore the art of writing heart-touching song lyrics, the kind that go beyond melody and truly speak to the soul. Whether you're a seasoned songwriter or just starting out, let's uncover the emotional keys that turn simple words into unforgettable lyrics.
How to write heart-touching song lyrics. Song lyrics have long served as vessels of human emotion, capable of crossing language, culture, and time. Heart-touching lyrics, in particular, possess a unique power. They resonate deeply with listeners, often saying what they feel but cannot express. This article explores the psychological and creative foundations of writing lyrics that move people, combining emotional intelligence, storytelling, poetic technique, and authenticity. The power of a line. There is a reason why a simple line like, "I will always love you," can echo in the hearts of millions. It's not complexity or novelty that makes lyrics memorable, it's their emotional honesty. In a world flooded with sound, the lyrics that stay with us are those that speak to our pain, joy, love, and longing. Writing heart-touching lyrics is not about perfection. It's about vulnerability, clarity, and connection. 1. Start with a deep emotional core. Heart-touching lyrics don't begin on paper. They begin inside you. At the center of every powerful lyric lies an emotional truth that is deeply felt, not just cleverly written. Before you try to rhyme, before you think about melodies or structures, you must first feel something real. That raw feeling becomes the fuel for every word you will eventually write. To begin, ask yourself, what emotion is calling me right now? What moment in my life left a mark on me, good or bad? Is there something I've never said out loud, but wish I could? These questions help you tap into your emotional memory, the reservoir of personal experiences, relationships, losses, regrets, hopes, and dreams that define your humanity. Whether it's the ache of missing someone, the joy of unexpected love, or the silence after a goodbye, these are the moments that live in the emotional center of your lyrics. Writing from this core means letting go of performance and letting in vulnerability. It means being brave enough to relive a heartbreak, to open an old wound, or to admit you're still healing. It's about writing what's true, even if it's messy or uncomfortable. Here's the key. The more honest you are with yourself, the more honest your lyrics will feel to others. And people can sense authenticity, just like they can sense when something feels forced or generic. For example, compare these two lyrics. You broke my heart, and now I'm sad. I still hear your keys in the door, even though you've been gone for months. The second one doesn't just tell us that someone is sad, it shows us the emotional residue left behind. It comes from a specific emotional core, which makes it much more relatable and impactful. When you start with a real feeling, rather than a catchy hook or formula, you give your song a soul. You're not writing for a chart, you're writing for someone's heart. And often it will be your own. 2. Simplify the message. Amplify the emotion. When it comes to writing lyrics that deeply move people, clarity is power. Listeners don't connect with complexity. They connect with truth they can feel immediately. The most unforgettable lyrics are often the simplest, because simplicity leaves room for emotion to breathe. Think of some of the most iconic lines in music history. All of me loves all of you. I'm still standing. Let it be. These lyrics aren't impressive because they're complicated, they're powerful because they're direct, honest, and emotionally clear. They strike straight to the heart without detouring through fancy language or over-elaboration. Why simplicity works? Simplicity allows the emotion to be unfiltered. In moments of real-life heartbreak or joy, people don't speak in metaphors. They say things like, "I miss you," or "Please don't leave." That raw honesty is what your lyrics should reflect. The more your words mirror real human expression, the more they'll resonate. When a listener hears a lyric, they don't pause the song to interpret a metaphor or unpack a clever phrase. If the message isn't immediately felt, the emotional impact can be lost. Simplifying the message allows the feeling to land instantly, and that's what makes it unforgettable. Strip it down, then build it back. Start with your core emotion, like grief, love, betrayal, or longing. Write out what you want to say as plainly as possible. Then ask, can this line be said more clearly? Are there any extra words I don't need? Does this line make someone feel something the moment they hear it? For example, complex version. Your absence causes emotional instability within my consciousness. Simple and emotional. I can't think straight since you left. The second version isn't just shorter, it's stronger. It speaks like a real person would in a real moment of pain. Choose words with emotional weight. Simplification doesn't mean dumbing things down. It means choosing fewer words with more impact. Instead of trying to sound poetic, focus on sounding true. One well-placed, emotionally loaded word can hit harder than an entire verse filled with abstract ideas. Stay. That single word, when placed in the right moment, can carry the entire weight of heartbreak or desperation. In summary, when you simplify the message, you amplify the emotion because the listener is no longer distracted by language. They are free to feel the heart of your song. That's the goal of heart-touching lyrics, not to impress, but to reach. 3. Tell a story, not just a sentence. A heart-touching song doesn't just say how you feel, it shows it. And the most effective way to do that is through storytelling. When you tell a story in your lyrics, you invite the listener into your world. You let them walk through your memories, feel your silence, see what you saw, and ache with you, not just for you. Think of your favorite songs. Chances are, they don't just express a single emotion. They narrate a moment, a scene, a conflict, a transformation. Story-based lyrics make abstract emotions concrete, turning feelings into visual, relatable moments. Why storytelling matters. Human beings are wired for stories. Stories help us make sense of emotions. When you embed your lyrics in a story, no matter how short, you allow your listener to connect more deeply because they're experiencing a journey, not just reading a diary entry. A story-based lyric can transform this. I'm lonely without you. Into this. You used to brush your teeth beside me. Now your mug collects dust on the shelf. I sleep on the edge of the bed. Like you might come back for yourself. In just a few lines, the listener can see and feel the loneliness. It's not just a description, it's a vivid moment. Elements of a strong lyric story. You don't need a full novel in your song. Even a few lines can tell a story if they contain characters. Who is involved? Is it you, me, her, them? Setting. Where is it happening? In a room, on a street, in memory? Conflict or tension? What is the emotional struggle? What changed? Resolution or question? Is there acceptance, hope, or uncertainty? Example. You stood in the doorway, with your keys in your hand. You said nothing, just nodded. And I knew it was the end. In 4 lines, we have a scene, a relationship, a goodbye, and heartbreak, all wrapped in a single moment. Use specific details to make the story real. General words like pain, love, or regret are common. But a great lyricist turns emotion into imagery. Use details, what someone wore, what the weather was like, what was said. These specifics make your story real. Compare. You left me heartbroken. Versus. Your coat was still warm when you said it was over. The second line feels more personal, and it hurts more because it paints a picture tied to a real emotional moment. Connect the listener to their own story. The goal of telling your story is to help the listener remember theirs. When you write about a night you cried alone or a place where someone walked away, you give your audience permission to revisit their own similar experiences. That's where the magic happens, when your story becomes their story. Heart-touching lyrics aren't just words, they're windows. By telling a story, you make your song a space the listener can enter, feel, and remember. It becomes more than music, it becomes memory. 4. Use imagery that evokes the senses. If emotions are the heart of a song, then imagery is its skin, what the listener touches, sees, hears, smells, and tastes. Sensory imagery gives your lyrics texture. It transforms abstract feelings into concrete experiences. Rather than telling someone how you feel, imagery lets them feel it with you. Why sensory language works. The human brain responds intensely to sensory cues. When you describe the soft feel of someone's sweater or the distant sound of a closing door, you're not just telling a story, you're creating a physical reaction in your listener's mind. Imagery activates memory, emotion, and empathy in a way plain statements can't. For example, "I'm heartbroken" is informational. "The coffee's gone cold" in your favorite cup is experiential. The second line paints a scene. It makes the listener see an empty kitchen, a cold cup, and maybe even remember someone they once missed. The five senses, a toolkit for lyricists. To evoke emotion through imagery, start thinking like a filmmaker. Use the senses to create small cinematic moments in your song.
Here's how.
Sight visual. What do you or the character in your song see? The sunset burned red behind your leaving silhouette. Visual imagery builds mood and atmosphere. Colors, shadows, lighting. These can carry intense emotional weight. Sound auditory. What sounds echo in the background or linger in silence? Your voice still echoes down the hall when it's quiet after midnight. Sound can be haunting, comforting, or symbolic. The absence of sound, silence, can also be incredibly powerful. Touch, tactile. What textures or temperatures are present? The sheets are cold on your side of the bed. Physical sensations can mirror emotional states, coldness as loneliness, warmth as love. Smell, olfactory. What scents are connected to memory? I still smell your perfume on my hoodie from last December. Smell is closely tied to memory, making it one of the most emotional senses to reference. Taste, gustatory. What flavors are remembered or imagined? The wine still tastes like the night you said goodbye. Taste imagery can symbolize sweetness, bitterness, comfort, or nostalgia. From generic to vivid, an imagery makeover. Let's take a basic line and enrich it with imagery. Before, "I miss the way we used to be." After, "I miss the sound of your laugh spilling into the kitchen as the toast burned again." The second version makes the listener feel the memory as if it's their own. It doesn't just say, "I miss you." It shows what that missing feels like. Tips for strong imagery. Be specific. Blue shirt hits harder than clothes. Anchor emotions in objects. Tie your feelings to things your audience can visualize. Don't overdo it. One vivid image can be more powerful than a paragraph of description. Use metaphors sparingly. A well-placed metaphor can heighten emotion, but too many can distance the listener. Heart-touching lyrics feel like memories the listener didn't know they had, because your imagery takes them there. When you write with the senses, you bring your song to life. You make it real, relatable, and unforgettable. 5. Repetition with purpose. In songwriting, repetition is more than just a musical tool. It's an emotional device. When used with intention, repeating a word, phrase, or a line can magnify feeling, emphasize meaning, and etch a message into the listener's soul. But when used carelessly, repetition risks sounding lazy or hollow. The difference lies in purpose. Why repetition works emotionally. Repetition mirrors how real emotions work. Think about moments of heartbreak, grief, love, or confusion. How often do our minds loop the same thought over and over? We repeat ourselves when we're overwhelmed. We whisper the same name. We ask the same questions. In this way, repetition in lyrics reflects emotional truth. Consider this example. I can't let go. I can't let go. I can't let go. Each repetition deepens the sense of desperation. It isn't about cleverness, it's about emotional insistence. Forms of repetition in lyrics. 1. Chorus repetition. The chorus is naturally repetitive. It's the emotional anchor of the song, and repeating it reinforces the theme. A powerful chorus uses repetition not just to be catchy, but to say something important again and again.
Example.
You are not alone. You are not alone. The more it's repeated, the more comforting and affirming it becomes. 2. Phrase or line repetition. Repeating a key phrase within a verse or bridge can create emphasis or emotional buildup. Example. You said you'd stay / you said you'd stay / but you walked away. This technique turns memory into heartbreak. 3. Word repetition for impact. Even a single word repeated can change the pace and power of a lyric. Example.
gone, gone.
Gone. The shortness and space between the words allow grief to breathe. The key: repetition must mean something. Repetition becomes powerful only when it serves the emotion. Don't repeat lines just to fill time. Repeat because the character or narrator in your song needs to say it again. Ask yourself, does this repetition reflect an emotional loop? Does it build intensity, sadness, anger, or yearning? Does it help the listener feel what I'm feeling more deeply? If the answer is yes, then repetition will amplify your message instead of diluting it. Repetition can change meaning through context. One powerful technique is to repeat the same line but give it a new context or twist. This shows emotional progression or deepening insight. Example: Verse 1. I never needed anyone. Chorus: I never needed anyone. Final chorus: I never needed anyone until you. That final addition redefines the entire journey. Avoiding monotony. Purposeful repetition is never boring. It builds emotion like waves crashing over the listener. But to keep it effective, use variation in melody when repeating a line. Shift phrasing slightly to reflect the narrator's emotional change. Combine repetition with silence to let the weight of the words settle. Repetition with purpose is like a heartbeat in your song. It drives the rhythm of feeling. Whether it's grief that won't leave, hope that won't die, or love that refuses to fade, purposeful repetition reminds the listener that some emotions are too big to be said just once. 6. Be honest, even when it hurts. The most heart-touching lyrics aren't polished to perfection. They're raw, real, and vulnerable. Honesty in songwriting means digging into the emotions you usually hide, the truths you're afraid to say out loud. It's not always pretty. It's often uncomfortable, but that's exactly what makes it powerful. When you write with emotional honesty, especially the kind that hurts, you invite your listener into a deeply human space. You say, "This is me," unfiltered. And chances are, someone out there has felt exactly the same but didn't know how to say it. Your courage to be honest gives their pain, longing, or confusion a voice. Why honesty hits harder than perfection. Listeners can always tell the difference between lyrics written to impress and lyrics written from the soul. A line doesn't need to be poetic or clever to be unforgettable. It just needs to be true. Consider, I loved you more than I loved myself, and now I don't know who I am. This line isn't metaphorical. It's not dressed in figurative language. It's bare. And because of that, it goes straight to the heart. When you strip away the performance and ego, what remains is emotional truth. And that's what people cling to when they're crying in their car, sitting in silence at midnight, or healing from a goodbye. The risk of vulnerability and the reward. Writing honestly means facing your own fears. What if they think I'm weak? What if this makes me look broken? What if it's too personal? But here's the reality. The more personal your truth is, the more universal it becomes. What hurts you, confuses you, or breaks your heart likely hurts, confuses, and breaks others too. By showing up truthfully, you make space for others to do the same. Even a simple confession can carry enormous weight. I lied when I said I was fine. That line alone can unlock tears in someone who's been pretending for too long. Honesty means letting go of the mask. We often wear emotional masks, especially when we write. We try to sound strong, poetic, or unaffected. But emotional impact doesn't come from sounding impressive. It comes from sounding human. Real honesty in lyrics might look like admitting regret. I pushed you away because I was scared you'd leave first. Owning weakness. I still check your page at 2 a.m. like a fool. Expressing doubt. I don't know if I'm the villain or the victim. These are the types of lines that sting because they're real. And in their rawness, they become relatable, even healing. Honesty doesn't mean oversharing. It means emotional truth. Being honest doesn't mean spilling every private detail. It means staying true to your emotional experience. You can be honest in metaphor, in symbol, or even in silence. The key is to avoid emotional dishonesty, pretending you're over it when you're not, pretending you're strong when you're breaking. Honesty is the heartbeat of every song that truly touches a soul. It's the courage to bleed on the page. It's the whisper that says, "This is how it really feels." And in a world where everyone's trying to be strong, your honesty may be the one thing that makes someone feel seen. 7. Avoid cliches by going personal. Cliches are the fast food of songwriting, easy to reach for, momentarily satisfying, but often forgettable. Phrases like "my broken heart," "forever love," or "you complete me" have been used so often that they've lost their emotional weight. When a lyric feels familiar in a predictable way, it no longer stirs the listener's soul. It simply passes by unnoticed. If your goal is to write heart-touching lyrics, then your mission is to avoid surface-level phrases and instead dig deeper into your own specific, personal experiences. Because the more personal your lyric is, the more authentic it feels, and paradoxically, the more universal it becomes. Why cliches fail to connect. Cliches often generalize feelings instead of revealing them. They summarize instead of showing. For example, cliché, "You broke my heart." Personal, "I found your goodbye scribbled on a napkin next to our half-eaten breakfast." The first line tells us what happened. The second lets us feel it. It's vivid, specific, and original. It comes from a real place, not a songwriting template. When you use a cliché, the listener's brain recognizes it and tunes out. But when you describe something in your own unique way, it makes the listener pause, pay attention, and say, "Wow, I've felt that too." The power of personal detail. Personal detail is what gives your lyrics emotional gravity. It creates intimacy. It paints moments. It says, "This happened to me and it meant something." Even if the listener hasn't lived the exact scene, they'll connect with a feeling inside it. For example, "I miss you so much" feels generic. "Your toothbrush is still next to mine, like it's waiting for your return" feels personal. That specificity is what breaks cliches apart. It transforms your lyric from something anyone could have written into something only you could have written. Turn the cliché inside out. If you feel yourself slipping into a cliché, stop and ask, "What exactly do I mean? What specific moment, object, or phrase could say this better? How did this emotion actually show up in my life?" Instead of saying, "You made me feel alive," you could write, "We raced the sunrise in your dad's old car, laughing like we'd never run out of time." It still means you made me feel alive, but now the listener is in the scene, feeling it with you. Use familiar themes, but tell your own truth. Avoiding cliches doesn't mean avoiding universal themes. Love, loss, hope, longing, these are timeless. But how you express them should be uniquely yours. Think of your lyric like a fingerprint. No one else has your exact memories, your heartbreaks, your private moments. Use them. That's where your most powerful lines live. Cliches may rhyme, but they rarely resonate. If you want to write lyrics that truly touch the heart, don't settle for what's been said 1,000 times. Say it the way you experienced it. Be brave enough to tell the truth in a way only you can. Because what is most personal is often what becomes most unforgettable. 8. Let silence and space do their job. In songwriting, it's easy to assume that more words equal more impact, but sometimes less says more. Silence and space are powerful emotional tools. They allow feelings to settle, moments to breathe, and listeners to feel instead of being constantly told. A well-placed pause or a lingering breath between lyrics can be just as powerful, if not more, than the words themselves. The emotional weight of silence. Think of the moment after someone says, "It's over," or the space between "I love you" and "but I can't stay."
Those pauses are heavy.
In real life, silence often carries the most meaning. It's filled with what wasn't said, what couldn't be said, and what's still being processed. In music, silence replicates that feeling. It pulls the listener into the emotional gravity of the moment. When used intentionally, silence creates suspense, reflection, and intimacy. It lets the listener process a line before the next one arrives. Musical space as emotional breathing room. Space in a song isn't just about actual silence. It's also about pacing, line length, and lyrical rhythm. Not every moment needs to be packed with syllables or rhymes. In fact, when you give your lyrics room to breathe, you give your audience time to emotionally respond. Consider these two examples. Crowded lyric. I tried to call but couldn't reach you, so I drove to your place and waited in the rain and cried all night. Spacious lyric. I called. No answer. So I waited in the rain. The second version slows down the moment. It invites the listener into the tension, rather than rushing past it. That space makes each word land harder. The power of the pause. Many iconic songs include a pause or space that becomes emotionally iconic. Think of Adele's Hello from the Other Side. The pause between hello and the next line builds anticipation and emotional tension. Sam Smith's use of long rests before belting out a chorus. Those gaps create drama and highlight vulnerability. Bill Withers' Ain't No Sunshine, where the line I know, I know, I know is repeated, then followed by silence. That empty space says what words can't. These examples show how what you don't say becomes just as important as what you do. Space isn't emptiness, it's emotional architecture. In lyric writing, space is structure. It gives your lines shape, contrast, and flow. Just like a painting needs blank canvas to give depth to the colors, your lyrics need emotional pauses to give depth to your words. After a powerful line, leave space before the next to let it sink in. When delivering a painful truth, give the listener a beat to feel it. Use breath as punctuation. Allow your phrasing to reflect how someone would speak or cry in real life. Silence and space are not gaps to be filled. They are emotional tools to be used. They create tension, intimacy, and authenticity. When writing heart-touching lyrics, remember, sometimes the most powerful line is the one that hangs in the air, unspoken, echoing in the silence. 9. Edit with empathy, not ego. Writing the first draft of a song often comes from a place of raw emotion. It's spontaneous, cathartic, and deeply personal. But editing is where the real craft happens. It's where the song is shaped, refined, and made ready to connect with others. And if you want your lyrics to touch hearts, you must approach the editing process with empathy, not ego. That means putting aside your need to sound smart, impressive, or poetic, and focusing instead on how your lyrics will feel to someone else. It's not about making the song perfect. It's about making it honest, clear, and emotionally accessible. Ego versus empathy in the editing process. Ego editing sounds like, this rhyme is clever, I have to keep it, even if it doesn't feel right. I love this line, because it makes me look deep. If I cut this verse, I'll lose something I worked really hard on. Empathy editing sounds like, will this line mean something to someone else? Does this metaphor make the feeling clearer, or more confusing? Is this lyric helping the listener feel connected to the emotion? The goal of editing with empathy is to step out of your own experience and enter the listener's perspective. You're still staying true to your story, but you're now telling it in a way that lets someone else live in it too. Ask empathetic questions while editing. As you revise your lyrics, try asking, would a listener feel something when they hear this line? Is this phrase emotionally clear, or am I hiding behind vague language? Is this line beautiful, but empty? Have I written something that helps others heal, remember, or feel seen? These questions shift your mindset from self-expression only to shared experience. And that's where real impact happens. Kill the darlings, but with love. One of the hardest parts of editing is letting go of lines you love, especially if you spent a long time crafting them. But just because a line sounds poetic doesn't mean it serves the song. If it distracts from the emotional truth or confuses the listener, it might need to go. A classic rule in writing says, kill your darlings. But with empathetic editing, you don't kill them, you release them. You let go of what serves you in favor of what will serve the listener. Keep the soul, refine the structure. Editing with empathy doesn't mean watering down your song. It means sharpening it so that its emotional truth is crystal clear. Keep the soul of what you originally wrote, your pain, your love, your joy, but refine the words so they become a bridge, not a wall. Sometimes that means breaking a long verse into shorter lines for breathing space, swapping out an abstract word for a more grounded, visual one. reordering lines so the emotional arc flows more naturally. None of this changes your message. It just delivers it with greater clarity and care. Editing with empathy is the act of honoring both your voice and your audience. It's a quiet kind of generosity, shaping your story in a way that lets others find themselves inside it. And when you stop editing for ego, you start writing songs that don't just express your pain or joy, they share it. 10. Test it on a feeling, not a friend. After you've written and revised your lyrics, it's natural to want feedback. Many songwriters instinctively share their work with a friend or fellow musician. And while external opinions can be helpful, the most important test isn't whether someone likes your lyrics, it's whether your lyrics make someone feel something. Heart-touching lyrics don't succeed because they earn compliments. They succeed because they awaken emotion, a lump in the throat, a silent pause, a memory stirred, a tear held back. That's why the ultimate test of your song isn't a friend's approval. It's your own emotional response. Before you let someone else validate it, ask yourself, does this lyric still move me when I hear it back? Why feelings are the real judge of impact. Music is emotional. A lyric can be structurally perfect and still feel empty. Conversely, a lyric that breaks some rules can hit like a wave if it speaks the truth of the heart. When you test a song on feeling, you're listening not as the creator, but as the receiver. This means stepping back from your pride, effort, or technical accomplishments and tuning into the emotional resonance of your work. Ask yourself, do I feel something in my chest or gut when I read or sing this line? Does this song still stir something in me, even after hearing it repeatedly? If I didn't know the backstory, would this still move me? If the answer is yes, your song has emotional substance. Listen like you've never heard it before. One helpful method is to put your song away for a day or two. Then come back, press play, or read it aloud, and try to experience it as a listener, not the writer. Notice where your attention drifts, or where you pause. Where does the emotion feel real? Where does it feel thin? It can also help to sing the song in a quiet room alone. If it brings tears or goosebumps, it's working. Read the lyrics like a poem. Does it stand on its own without the music? Play it with just one instrument. Does the emotion still shine through? This process keeps your focus on emotional truth, not surface polish. Why friends aren't always the best barometer. Friends often want to support and encourage you, which is beautiful, but it can also cloud honest feedback. They may say it's great, even if it didn't move them. Or they may not connect with it because they weren't meant to, but someone else might. Emotion is subjective. That's why testing your song against a feeling is more reliable than testing it against a reaction. Even one quiet tear in your own eye is more telling than 10 polite compliments. Don't just ask, is it good? Ask, is it honest? Good is a vague standard, but honest is powerful. A song doesn't need to be groundbreaking to be heart-touching. It needs to be true. If it's true, it will move someone, even if just one person. And if that one person is you, then it has already served its first and most sacred purpose, to express what you needed to say. Don't just ask, is it good? Ask, is it honest? Good is a vague standard, but honest is powerful. A song doesn't need to be groundbreaking to be heart-touching. It needs to be true. If it's true, it will move someone, even if just one person. And if that one person is you, then it has already served its first and most sacred purpose, to express what you needed to say. Don't test your lyrics to impress. Test them to connect. Not every line needs a round of applause, but every song deserves a moment of stillness where its emotional truth is felt. When your lyrics stir something inside you, even after the writing is done, you've likely written something worth sharing. Because at the end of the day, if it moves you, it will move someone else. Writing that heals. Writing lyrics that touch the heart is not just a musical task, it's a healing one. For the writer and the listener alike, these words become a mirror, a balm, a light. In a world so often filled with noise, your honest, emotional lyrics can be a song someone didn't know they needed. Remember, the most heart-touching lyrics are not written to impress. They are written to express and to connect.